Hello and welcome to the Lost Art Podcast. I am Paul and I'm here with Gar.
That's me.
And today we are doing something that I totally forgot to do. We forgot to do this. I don't know why. I think we thought we already did it, but we hadn't.
I was 100% convinced that we had done this before. I even had the songs in my head. I avoided songs because I was convinced that we had done this before. But I can find no evidence that
I
we
don't
have
think
done
we
this
did. So this is best foreign language songs that are not in English.
Yep.
This was harder for me because I kept forgetting songs that I listened to like every week that
Same.
are not in English. I'm like, shit, yeah, that's not in English.
Yeah.
It's so big and deadly that I forgot. So it was kind of interesting because I know people that won't really be into songs that if they're not sung in English. I don't care what the fuck people are singing about as long as it's not Jesus or weird horrible shit that they're serious about.
Yeah.
So it's mad. Yeah, I didn't pick Rammstein. Du hast. You didn't pick any Rammstein.
No,
Pick any Rammstein. So just straight off the bat, it was too obvious.
I don't really like Rammstein. Like,
You don't really like them.
I don't hate them. I just don't do it for me. It just looks like a load of elfless spitting fire on the stage. And I'm not into it.
The music's phenomenal. Though.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to the albums, they're great. I don't think either of us picked like 99 Red Balloon, 99
No,
Luftballons.
no Nina. No, Nina.
Obvious again. I thought maybe not, but this is more of it. This isn't like the best of. This is our favorite foreign language songs.
Yeah.
Foreign language songs was sort of a joke as like best foreign language. We were going to go for an Oscars thing, but this is 5 each of our favorite songs that we remembered are not in English.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think I picked a bunch of stuff that I do listen to, not all the time because I don't listen to anything all the time, but like songs that I know or acts that I know that don't do it in English. I don't do these songs in particular in English in any way.
Yeah. It's mad. I thought we'd done this one, but we hadn't, and I don't know if it's super interesting. It kind of is interesting in terms of like these artists are getting to Ireland like by way of before the internet, like Sigur Rós. Just gave away one of my ones there. That's real good. That's real good. Till 98 or something like that I copped it, and I wasn't really mad onto the internet at that stage, so I think this is a lot of these I heard. So I'm going to stop before I say another one of them.
And then I heard that one and that one.
So now he's now Sigur Rós around the playlist. Well, look, we'll go with your one first.
Yeah.
You pick a song in a genre that is my least favorite genre in the entire world. Sorry, it's not my least favorite genre in the world. It is.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this before, so forgive me if I get.
Yeah, I find this. I'm going to turn my gain up my microphone a little bit low. Hang on. There we go. I find this genre a little bit interesting, for a multitude of reasons. So I picked.
The gas thing is the genre. It's not really a genre. It's more of the language plus genre. Isn't it, really?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I picked French hip hop. Okay. I know.
I can't. I don't know why I can't. I love French music. I love hip hop.
Yeah.
But there's something about putting the two of them together that makes me go, I can't.
Yeah. Well, I find it very interesting. French hip hop is the biggest hip hop scene outside of North America by a massive margin.
Yeah.
Like it's just
The music is brilliant.
I really, really enjoy loads of French hip hop. Like I picked a guy called Lompal. I'm not going to pronounce any of these right. Like let me just get this out of the way.
All of us are going to fuck off.
Straight up, I'm going to like anglicize the shit out of him. I'm sure it's like Lompa or something like that.
Yeah.
It's Lompal to me. Lompal. Lompal. I don't know, right? And I picked a song called I'm going to say it in English, Evidement. I don't know how you pronounce it. Evidement. I'm sure it sounds delicious and sexy.
Evidement.
Exactly, when Lompal says it. But he's a good example of kind of the current batch of French hip hop guys who do. There was a big divide in the French hip hop scene years ago that went more towards kind of this real laid back kind of cafe hip hop. And another gang and I went into this like super angry stab people ghetto stuff because France is full of ghettos. People forget like France is rough as fuck, like, and parts of Paris are dog rough. And so the scene was kind of split between this real relaxy, sexy time stuff and machetes down the back of a lane, you know what I mean, style French hip hop. And this Lompal guy seems to have a kind of a foot in both of them, because the modern guys didn't really have to decide. So this is off an album called Janine, which came out in 2018, which is a second album, and it done bananas business. He's one of the biggest names in French hip hop. There was guys before that like MC Solar and Lionel D Nasty, Assassin, Supreme NTN. These are all like big names in the French hip hop scene, who obviously get maybe a tiny bit of recognition outside of France, but not enough. I mean, be like the German hip hop scene. Pick any country on earth where they're rapping in their native language. It's not going to be big.
My next one
outside.
has some German rap, so I can't even say anything.
Exactly.
I can't even give you shit over this.
Yeah.
Because I give you shit anyway. But there's something about when I'm listening to French hip hop, right? The music starts and I'm like, oh, that's an amazing hook, like an amazing thing, and then it's just like, I'm like,
oh yeah,
no,
yeah. This guy is a little bit more rolls off the tongue. Yeah, like the French language suits that relaxy stuff. I don't know about the real aggressive stuff, that boom bap style. I don't know about that. But this guy Lompal does this kind of slightly modern, chilled out stuff. But like loads of the new French guys are doing kind of that trap auto tune style as well, which is it was never really my bag, but I can appreciate some of it. Let's put it that way. Yeah. He's very interesting. Like apparently Lompal means the pale man. I don't know. Right. Make of that what you want. The pale man. Apparently his mates are slagging him. You're real pale.
I just realised, like, I think both of us left off one of the most obvious ones of all time as well. And it's sort of the very first song, I think, I could be wrong about this, the very first song that came into the consciousness of people who listen to only English music was a French song. That was fully in French. That was the biggest song, I think, at the time.
It's not that Nina Cherry song, is it?
No, it's Je t'aime by Serge Gainsbourg.
Ah, yeah. I avoided Serge. I was going to, but like I said, in my head, we'd already done this podcast.
I've picked him a few times. But no, I'm only mentioning it because the French language is, and Je t'aime is one of my favourites. I absolutely love it. That's one of the first ones that I think broke out of the barrier of a different language into the world.
Like France have definitely had more outside hits than like Germany. Let's put it that way.
It's you know what? I swear to God, I think it's England, America, and France.
Yeah,
for music in the world.
Probably.
Like in terms of quantity.
Yeah.
Because quality you can't really quantify that. But like I'd say Sweden has better music than France. But realistically, if I sat down and started counting the pennies, it's probably France.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just my prediction.
Hip hop is huge in France around 82, 83, and a lot of like hip hop shows start popping up on French radio stations. And it was around that, or a couple of years later, the government brought in this law in the early 2000s. They brought in this law that helped kind of escalate the French hip hop scene, like into kind of everybody's houses, because hip hop had always been bubbling away under the radar in France since the early 80s. But in the early 2000s, the government brought in a rule that said 40% of all music that's played on the radio in France has to be in French. So
that's mad.
Yeah, they have something similar here, but it's nowhere near 40%. I think it's like 10% or something like that.
That's like some sort of Bavarian beer law, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So that meant that the radio stations were kind of scrambling, looking for good quality stuff that they could put out the radio stations. And obviously with stuff like hip hop, you can pretty much make a hip hop album in your bedroom and it's going to sound the same as one that was made in the studio, because it's all preconditioned samples and stuff. You just need a good corner to set a microphone up in, you know.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that was being sent to the radio stations that was hip hop sounded really good and would have kind of stood up to the stuff that they were playing that was English speaking from the States and from England and stuff like that. So a lot of hip hop ended up getting played on the radio, and it
that's a really good reel.
Absolutely. The problem is that it's not going to work here in Ireland because such a tiny percentage of the population actually speak Irish. You know, they have a push, I know, on, I think like TG Carr had a thing where obviously everything had to be in English and 90% of it had to be in Irish. And then I think RTE Radio or something like that, they've got they have some sort of rule where it has to be 10% is in sang in English, and then loads of their spoken word, like the kind of radio documentaries, have to be done in Irish and stuff like that as well. It's not going to work as well here as it would in France or Germany or Belgium or Italy or blah blah.
Let's be honest, it's not our most used language.
No, far from. So I'm going to play a little bit of this L'Ompal, évidemment. I'm going to play a little bit of that. You can probably just unplug your headphones right now. You're not going to like this.
No, we're going to try and enjoy the music
at all. It's nice and chill out. We'll give you whatever 40-50 seconds of this L'Ompal.
J'avais pas trop sommeil, mourir au sommet comme King Kong, le seul rêve qui compte. Mais pourquoi moi? Pourquoi je serais différent des autres? Mon seul don c'est vouloir être différent des autres. Et pour ça j'ai la rage de vaincre, la rage d'être le meilleur sur la page de fin. Si jamais ça marche, je pars plus comme une tache de vin. Oh, j'ai l'impression de m'entendre dans mes premiers morceaux, toujours à crier comme un connard morceau. Sauf que maintenant j'ai plus 19 ans, et je crois bien que les gens bizarres du showbiz disent que mes disques se vendent. Yes, concert complet dans toutes les villes de France. On était déjà passé par là en vague. Sur scène je donne tout, j'en ai 2000 devant. Mais je suis toujours mal à l'aise quand je parle à un fan. Évidemment que je veux briller comme l'or. J'ai passé ma vie invisible comme l'air. Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Des millions d'heures seules dans le noir. Dieu merci j'ai enfin confiance en moi. Pourquoi vous voulez m'aimer maintenant? Sert plus à rien de m'aimer maintenant.
So yeah, it's very French.
There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know what it is. I have to get over this. This is my problem. This is my thing.
I was going to look up the lyrics for everything just to get a gist of it, but I started and I just stopped because I'm not arsed. I'm not going to lie to you. So if you want to know what they're rapping about or what they're singing about in any of my songs, I don't know if you've done it, you can go on Shy and just look it up yourself. I'm not doing your job for you. I haven't a clue, but about any lyrics in this. There's one, I'm not going to lie to you, there's one song that I have in this. I don't even know if it's in a language or in English. I'm guessing it's in that language. Right? No joke. Like, I've done everything. I listened to it 1,000 times. I heard a couple of words. I was like, they could be like them crossover words that, like, there is no native tongue for. And I can't put the rest of it together. So I'm guessing because I can only pick out the odd word every now and again. I'm like, they're definitely singing it in their language. So when we get to it, please, if somebody knows, tell me. I pulled it out my hole. I wanted to do a particular country. And I came up against some stumbling blocks that I will explain. But that's my first one. That's L'Ompal, and évidemment. And who is your next one?
My next one is my first one, is the 1982 banger from Austria, Der Kommissar by Falco, from his debut album Einzelhaft, which I think is like a prisoner or locked up or something, I think it means. Der Kommissar means police commissioner in English, and an English version of the song was recorded and was a way bigger hit for a band called After the Fire. And Laura Branigan also borrowed the entire the melody in this is so fucking good that people were like, people need to hear this in English. I think is the deal.
That's happened a few times, yeah.
Yeah, Falco's like, well, I'm doing my one. So he had it out in 82, I think in 83 and two of them in 83, Laura Branigan as well, had her one called Deep in the Dark, which is just, she just took the melody and rewrote the lyrics. That band After the Fire had a huge hit with it, but they were already decided to break up when it kind of got big. And I think the fact that it was like a cover, they were like, yeah, well, I'm not going to do that again. This song did really well in the charts in German-speaking countries, but also I think did number one in Italy, France, Spain and Japan. It had such a big potential that, like I said, it was recorded a few times. It was even covered by Trent Reznor's first band, Option 30. So if you want to give it a little blast, I love this song. Absolutely. Yep. I love the English version of it as well, but I love this one.
Right, here we go.
2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, na es ist nix dabei, na wenn ich euch erzähl die Geschichte. Nichtsdestotrotz, ich bin es schon gewohnt, im TV-Funk, da läuft es nicht. Tja, sie war jung, das Herz so rein und weiß und jede Nacht hat ihren Preis. Sie sagt, sugar sweet, you got red to the heat, ich verstehe, sie ist heiß. Sie sagt, babe, you know, I miss my funky friends, mein Jack und Joe und Jill. Mein Funkverständnis, ja, das reicht zur Not, ich überreiß, was sie jetzt will. Ich überleg bei mir, ihr Nasen spricht dafür, wäre das nicht noch Rauch? Die Special Places sind dir wohl bekannt, ich mein, sie fährt ja U-Bahn auch. Dort singen's Radine dumm, oh, oh. Mal, Herr Kommissar.
That's so funky.
It is mad
That's
funky.
so funky. This was 2 years before Rock Me Amadeus, which I was going to pick, but then I was like, you know what though, I actually prefer The Commissar. Absolutely love this song. Falco died in a car crash in 1998, actually. He was planning a comeback, and he was only 40 years old at the time. That is The Commissar, which I do, like, everyone goes mad for Rock Me Amadeus because that is an ultra banger.
Yeah.
But, Jesus, that's just deadly. I just
Yeah.
love it. And it's been
Great.
sampled so many times, been covered a lot, like you said.
You can tell how many times it's been cut up. Like every time he changes riff, you're like, I've heard that before. I've heard that before.
I've heard that,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like loads of his songs have been absolutely thinking, going, you know what? For the people that aren't, it's like the way this, for the reason that they remake shows.
Oh yeah.
They remake shows, like for the English market. So like, I don't know, there's loads of like Norwegian and Swedish detective shows that have been remade over. And but then again, it's gone the other way as well. Like the English show, like we were
definitely.
just talking about, Life on Mars has been sold to
every
loads
single
of
country on Earth. Like Russia has one, Australia has one. Every country on Earth has a Life on Mars.
Russia has one that's like 24 episodes per season or something like that.
Have you ever read about the American one?
No.
Read about the American one. You won't spoil anything for yourself.
I finished it now. I finished it 2 seasons now.
Okay, yeah. So you're moving on to Ashes to Ashes.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to
that. Just don't bother watching the American one. Just read the synopsis. Read the synopsis. It will blow your fucking mind, man. Like, it is absolutely insane, like, what they done to that show. I think it only went 1 season. And I think they, halfway through the season, they were told, no more of this. So there was just this fucking race to the end to get it done. And, like, the last episode, like, the twist is just, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. So just read the synopsis. Don't watch that show. Do not watch that show.
Well, that was like, I know I get, like, I can't do French rap, and then I just played a German Austrian rap song like straight away. But he's a savage rapper, and he's a savage singer as well.
Oh yeah,
Falco could have done it all, man.
Yeah,
absolutely could have done it all.
The Beyonce back then.
Yeah, he was dancing everything outside. But yeah, I always have time. I remember the first time as a kid hearing Rock Me Amadeus go, that's the greatest song I've ever written, probably.
Yeah, it was great.
And I loved it. Like, I play that song all the time. And then, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into Falco's discography over the next, while I'm in work, maybe like that. If I get some time, if I'm not doing any audio stuff, I'm going to go into, because, geez, there's some bangers, there's some hidden gems in Falco, I'm telling you right now. Anyway, that was my first one. Who's your next one?
My next one is probably the most obvious one on the list, but I wanted to get it done. And I know that in this non-English podcast that we didn't do, that I think we done in our head, that this was on it. So I wanted to split the difference just so I got this done, because the story for it is excellent. And it's Plastic Bertrand with Ca Plan Pour Moi, right? Which again is in French, but it's sang by a Belgian guy. So we're going from France to Belgium, but he sings it in French. And it depends, I think it depends on where you are in Belgium, what language they speak. They have a weird kind of French-Flemish crossover language, and then they have some parts that are French.
I've got some of that coming later, and I didn't really know what it was, so I just said French. Yeah,
exactly. Like, this is, I'm pretty sure this is 100% in French, because that was the market he was aiming at. But he probably speaks 17 languages like every other proper European bar Ireland.
Hey, at least we're still in Europe.
We're still in Europe, but like, have you ever been in Europe and you go, like, you're in the arsehole of, I don't know, the Netherlands, and you pull into a petrol station and you're like, oh god, how am I going to have to point now and do fucking monkey signals to try and figure out how to get bleeding petrol into this car? And you walk in, you go, hello, and they're like, hello, what do you need? And you're like, holy shit, everybody speaks like 7 languages here. Like, they don't school correctly.
You feel so lazy.
I feel like lazy and stupid. Like I'm going in baby talking.
When I go to that festival in Belgium, and I go, hey, can I have this size? And they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, thanks for talking in English. You're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, All right, yeah, it makes no difference to me. Like, it doesn't matter who they are. Like, it could be the lollipop man who lets the kids cross the road, speaks 6 languages. Like, it's insane over there. So, Plastic Bertrand with Cap Plan Pour Moi. It's one guy. His name is Roger Francois Jarret, and he's a Belgian songwriter, producer, and a TV presenter. Born in Brussels to a French father and a Ukrainian mother. And has pretty much been in bands since he was in like the Boy Scouts. So what are we talking? 10, 11, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
So he's been making music for a long, long time. He went to college to study music. Got influenced by the punk movement in the late 70s and started studying. I think he moved from like wind instruments to drums and stuff like that. He was very, very interested in the way kind of punk drummers were using their instrument. So he was singing and drumming and released this song. Ca Plan Pour Moi, which is actually a B-side.
This is a brilliant song.
It's a great little song. It was actually a B-side to what was meant to be his lead single, which is a song called Pogo Pogo. Now, it all goes a bit sour here, right? So this song was released in 1977. It was a worldwide hit, right? Takes off. It was meant to be a bit of a kind of a, not a slag, but like a pastiche, like a fucking tongue-in-cheek, spitting image style punk song / video and all this kind of stuff, you know, like everything's turned up to 11 for it. And so it takes off because the punk movement's after gaining loads of traction. There's kind of punks on every corner, and you know, it's the new fad essentially. And this song comes out and it's super catchy. Vocal wise it's great, music wise it's great. It's doing the business. But it turns out that song was written and sang by a guy called Lou Deplegic, who was a mate of Plastic Bertrand, of Roger. So Roger just lied, right? He just asked his pal, who was a pretty well-known Belgian songwriter. He was writing kind of pop songs for all these kind of up-and-coming 60s and 70s bands. And he said, listen, I like punk, like, do you think you could write me a song? So he went into the studio, and in 2 hours he just pissed out this song, I can't even say it, Ca Plan Pour Moi, in 2 hours, recorded it with a load of his mates. This guy, Roger, wasn't even on the recording.
If you don't think you know what song it is, you absolutely know this song.
Yeah, we're going to play it now in a second.
It's been on so many ads and so many movies.
Yeah.
It usually involves a chase.
Exactly.
Like a chase.
It's got that real hectic style to it. But yeah, so this guy, Roger, who is Plastic Bertrand, just asked his mate, listen, will you write us a song? And he just put together this kind of demo with a few of his pals and gave it to Roger, and he released it. And there was murder over it. And it comes to light later that the first 4 Plastic Bertrand albums, the guy Roger, who is Plastic Bertrand, doesn't sing on any of them. He was meant to be the singer. He's in the videos and he's doing the interviews and the press. He's not on any of them at all. It was all this other guy, and they ended up having a big court case and everything over it because
how did he write him that many songs and not? Did he write a second album from?
He wrote 4 albums.
Hang on, at what point does he go? I heard that song on the radio there.
He knew what was going on. But I think your man Roger was like, I'm going to feed you a lot of money and I'll play them live. Like, I'll just do me rock and roll version. Because he could sing and he could play drums and whatever, you know. So the guy Roger, who is Plastic Bertrand, could perform. But he wasn't writing or singing the songs, the studio versions, like, at all. He just had a lot of shit hot musicians, even though he went to school and studied music and all. We're going to play a bit of this just so, listen, again, everybody knows this song, but just to refresh our memory.
Bam bam, mon chat se place, j'ai sur mon lit à bouffer sa langue en buvant, prends mon whisky quant à moi, peu dormi, vie débris, mais j'ai dû dormir dans la gouttière où j'ai eu un flash. En 4 couleurs. Allez hop, un matin, une louloute est venue chez moi, poupée de cellophane, cheveux chinois, un sparadrap, une gueule de bois, a bu ma bière dans un grand verre en caoutchouc, comme un indien dans son igloo. Ça plane pour moi, ça plane pour moi, ça plane pour moi, moi, ça plane pour moi. Ça plane pour moi. Allez hop, la nana, quelle panard, quelle vibration de s'envoyer sur paillasson, limé, ruiné, vidé, comblé.
So yeah, you knew that song. You just might not know it. It's a killer of a song. It's a murder of a song. So yeah, this guy Roger, who is Plastic Bertrand, just convinced this guy to write and perform record a lot of albums for him, and then finally it comes to light, like years later, like in the 2000s or something like that this guy Lew Deptchik was doing pretty much everything for him. Now, he did release albums with him singing and playing on them later, but like nothing ever, like, compared to that first song, he never had anything. He ended up he entered the Eurovision in 1987 for Luxembourg, with like a self-penned song as well, and came like 21 out of 22, like just massive failure, like full on shit to bed. Ka plan pour moi means everything is going well for me, roughly what it translates to. Apparently if you translate it directly, exactly, if you translate it directly, it means everything is gliding. That's kind of the direct translation. What's funny is that the same year there was an English version of this song brought out, but it's completely different. It's the same backing track, but the vocals are just completely different. It has the wee thing in it, but it's not even the same. It was by a guy called Elton Motello, and it's a song called Jet Boy Jet Girl, right? And everybody, please God, go to Spotify or YouTube and type in Elton Motello Jet Boy Jet Girl and listen to this song. This
wee Jet Boy Jet Girl.
No. Oh. He might maybe at the end of it, but the main chorus is about getting a blowjob off a bloke, and then seeing that bloke with a girl and getting really, really jealous. So then starting like a throuple with your boyfriend and his girlfriend. It's fucking insane. It's mental.
Okay.
And this is 1977. This is 1977. Go and listen to the lyrics to this song. It's fucked up, man. It's nowhere near as good as the Plastic Bear Trans version. It's just not. Nowhere near as good. But poor old fucking Roger from Plastic Bear Trans tried to have 100 fucking comebacks. I think he even re-released the song, re-recorded it and all with him singing, and it just never done the business. Because once you find out it was recorded in like 2 or 3 hours, kind of as a demo session, and then you listen to it, you go like, oh yeah, it sounds like a demo. Like everything's all over the place. The drums are buried. There's no bass. You know, like the vocals are slightly out of whack. But like, because of that, it works. You know what I mean? If it's trying to ape that kind of punk rock style. But like, realistically, in 1977, most of the punk rock albums that were coming out would have had mad money put behind them from like Virgin Records and stuff like that, you know, and EMI Records would have been putting mad money like into The Damned and Sex Pistols. So everything sounded amazing by then, you know. So he was a little bit late down the kind of rough and raw thing. But it worked because the song was just so goddamn catchy, but like nothing really. I think he had one song that came out after that done middling. I can't remember the name.
Well, that was just by the merits of the first song, usually.
100%. People thought they were getting...
By the second one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And by the third one, I'm not getting bitten again. Well, I'm out. Right. I'm out. Anyway, that was Plastic Bear Trans with Ka plan pour moi. Who is our next one?
It's funny you should mention the Eurovision, because this band performed at the Eurovision, not in the Eurovision, because they're just simply too good for that. But they are Onuka. They are an electric folk band from Ukraine who use traditional Ukrainian instruments with electronic drums.
Deadly.
And they sound so good. It's ridiculous. So the band consists of 3 main members. Maria Sorokina. I'm going to fuck these up, I know I am. Nata Zhizhchenko and Daria Sert. I think I might have got a passing grade on the 3 of those, maybe. The Ukrainian word Onaku or Onuka translates to granddaughter. A tribute to the singer Zhizhchenko's grandfather, who was a renowned folk instrumental maker. Alexander Shliachik, I think is his name. This is the very little information on this. I'm sure there's like 1,000 articles written in Russian.
Yeah,
but that's a massive amount of information that I could find. That's it.
It's hard to find stuff on a lot of foreign acts, because obviously we go to Google and you type in the name of it, you'll get as many articles as there are in English, or references or mentions as there are in English. But generally, the search parameters will cut out any foreign language articles, even so to the point where it's really hard to find them to translate them, because like most browsers will do like a quick translate there and then for you for some information as well. But it can be very difficult to find it.
It'll throw you off guard. Because if I typed in the word granddaughter, it's going to go, okay, that's what you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
You're obviously from Ukraine or Russia, and that's what you want to...
exactly.
This song was shown to me by a mate of mine, actually, about 2 years ago, and just, you have to give the song a listen. You have to give this... I'd make sure people listen to the whole song, but we can't do that now. You know what I mean? Like that. So give it a lash there. This is Anuka and Zenith.
That's mental. That sounds like a weird James Bond theme meets mad trip hop stuff. I like it.
And all that, like a lot of those instruments are real and played by the band. Like, and
That's real cool.
I just love how boom.
Yeah,
that
that's
is.
real cool.
That's the Marvel movie. Yeah, how's that Marvel or James Bond?
Yeah,
Like boom, and
it's
then it
real
has loads
cool.
of
I
depth.
like that.
And the vocals are brilliant. Lyrics couldn't tell you. Sorry,
Couldn't tell you what's going on.
Couldn't tell you what's going on.
That's a really good segue into my next one.
Right. Well, what is your next one? That was Anaku Zenith. What is your next one?
My next one is a Polish band called DESZCZ, right? And it's pronounced Deszcz, right? Which means the rain in Polish.
Cool.
And
Do you know what? Do you know what I have to say about people who are not putting their band name in English? They can reuse a billion deadly terms and words.
seriously, you call yourself Kiss and get away with it.
Good.
You know what I mean? ACDC.
The Beatles.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Beatles.
Yeah, 100 times. We're the Rolling Stones. What? No, the fucking Smash Rigok. The Smash Rigok. Yeah, it means Rolling Stones. Absolutely, just get away with it. So yeah, Deszcz. I can't. There's a particular movement that your mouth makes when you try to speak any sort of like Eastern language that us poxy Westerners can't do. Right? And it's not a tongue roll. It's a weird that we can't do. No word we ever say makes this noise. That's why learning like Polish or any sort of Slavic language,
trying to move that.
can't do it. So it's like Deszcz is kind of the closest version of it that I could do. So they're from Poznan, which is where the football was a couple of years ago. Formed in 2013. It's a 3-piece guitar, bass, drums, bog standard, 2 vocalists, 2 of the lads sing, and it's this weird. How would you put it? They call it neo-crust, like bleak neo-crust hardcore metal, right? That's not what they call it. That's just a lot of genres that they've been tagged in on like Bandcamp. It's a small band, but released an album a couple of years ago that kind of blew everybody's mind on the kind of European crust scene, European kind of heavy hardcore and black hardcore scene, and this is fucking bananas good. Like, it is outrageously good. It's kind of convergy, kind of Dillinger Escape Plan-y. I don't know how you'd describe it, but it's definitely kind of by a 3-piece band from lads from Eastern Europe. This is the band that I'm not entirely sure if they're singing in English or Polish. I'm guessing it's Polish. If the name of the band is in Polish, I have to assume they're singing in Polish. You'll know why I can't tell now in a second. I'm just going to play them. So you'll know then. I like this a lot. So answers on a postcard if them lads are singing in English or Polish. I'm guessing it's Polish. I'm guessing it's Polish. I'm mad into that. That's after their third record called 3. And I think 2, everybody lost their mind over 2, which I have to go looking for now. Because when I start looking them up, every review was like, Jesus Christ, this is amazing. Jesus Christ, this is amazing. So like now, I'm balls deep in this band. I need to go looking. It's really hard to find anything about this band.
Yeah.
Like, because they're, 2013, they're like, 7-8 years on the go. They played a couple of gigs around Europe, put out 3 albums, self-funded, self-recorded, self-released, the whole shebang, the usual DIY kind of ethos behind the whole thing. Hopefully, fingers crossed, there's no mad shit in it there. I made me missus have a look online and look up lyrics and all. I was like, listen, just tell me there's no references to fucking like a supreme race or fucking Odin or anything in it. Like, that's what I need. Like, once there's none of that, I'm alright.
Totally against all that. It's
99.9% of the time, it's grand. But like, this is a new band that I know nothing about, can't look them up.
Yeah. I
just have to eliminate that instantly. I'm 99% sure that I didn't pick a gang of bogies, because I hope not, because I really, really like this. I really like it.
I never thought that. I don't know what they're singing about. I need it on a lot of these songs.
Couldn't tell you. I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, there's nothing roping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just fingers crossed, because like, you know, if it's in English, you instantly, like, it only takes 1 or 2 words for you to go, absolutely not. But when you don't speak the language, fucking Nick Spreckens, fucking any language, really. I haven't a clue what's going on. So that's Desht. I like it a lot. That's right up my alley for kind of heavy modern music. I'm into that, and by the end of the song, it's really slow and kind of dissonant and evil, and I'm into that. Who is your next one?
Well, you've mentioned Converge 2013 and heavy music in the last one, and that applies to this as well. This is a band who I think would be one of your favourite bands.
Okay.
If you listen to them. Maybe you do listen to them.
I know this band, but I don't think I've ever actually taken the time to sit down and listen to this band. Let's put it that way.
So this is a song called Evig Vandrar by Kvelertak, and they're a Norwegian heavy metal band that have huge punk influences as well. You can definitely hear the punk. This song is taken off their second album, Mjør, which came out in 2013, like I said, and Rolling Stones in 2017 ranked it 96th on their list of 100 greatest metal albums of all time. That's some going.
That's a big deal.
They're just such a good band. Mjør is Norwegian for more, and this was produced by Kurt Ballou of Converge, and all of the artwork you'll recognise because it's the same artwork as Baronet, because it's done by John Dyer Baisley as well. Kvelertak means stranglehold, and Evig Vandrar means eternal wanderer. Give this a go. Like, I wish you could hear from the start, where it starts with like an acoustic guitar and then builds into something else. But we have to be realistic.
We have to be. Right.
Give it a
Here we go. That's real cool, yeah.
Oh, that's very
I like
good.
that,
They're
yeah.
so good. They really, really are. They have a feeling that you're not listening to something that's been done too many times.
Yeah,
It's obviously influenced by so many things, but you're listening to it going, this feels. And that if someone said to me, like, big fans of this band might disagree, but if someone said to me, sell me this band in less than 2 minutes, that's the section I would, because it gets a lot in there.
Yeah.
Their fourth album was met with like worldwide acclaim despite having a brand new lead singer. So they're an example of a band who survived the lead singer leaving and stuff like that. That was kind of a shock to me when I heard that he was leaving. Like when you hear a band singers leaving, you think that's them gone.
Yeah.
And then they come out with an absolute banger. It's called Split. So that's Kvelertak from Norway, and they're singing in Norwegian as far as I know. I don't think they're singing it in ropey at all. They're brilliant. They're an absolutely brilliant band. And they're a bit fun as well. Like,
yeah, there's
honestly,
definitely like here kind of Crumbsuckers and bits of Dwarves and stuff like that in there where they mix kind of
They remind
rock and roll and punk.
Of Dwarves with Baroness and a bit like Millencolin and everything. There's like real pop.
Definitely.
Like,
Pop sensibilities in there.
Pop sensibilities, exactly. Yeah. So, who's your next one?
My next one is another famous one. It's Kraftwerk. Had to do it.
Yeah, it's not bad. I forgot. See, I listen to Kraftwerk all the time. I forgot to put them in a foreign language band thing.
Yeah, now, Kraftwerk, to be fair to them, pretty much do a good mix of English and German. So I picked Die Roboten, which is obviously the German version of The Robots. Kraftwerk are, like, both insanely famous and insanely important. Formed in Dusseldorf in 1970. Kind of known as the pioneers of electronic music, like pretty much like the leading force in electronic music. But they started off as a krautrock band. It's like a West German rock and roll style that the West kind of dubbed krautrock, which was weird, grim rock music that was coming out of West Germany at the time. And they started off doing that. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's where you get your Joy Divisions and stuff like that. And
Bowie's
exactly
later stuff as well.
Yeah. So they started off doing that, but they started kind of getting access to synthesizers and those build your own synthesizer kits and stuff like that, and eventually just kind of fully embraced synthesizers and drum machines, vocoders and stuff like that. They've had 20 plus members over the years. Like, it is a bit of a revolving door, but they have been going since 1970, folks. You know, we're talking 51 years. Is that 51 years? Or 41 years. 41 years. No, 51 years. Fuck my life. 51 years. Yes. I was like, hang on. Oh, guys, for some reason, I keep thinking it's 2010.
Yeah, so do I.
Just a current thing that happens to me at the moment. So
I can't believe the 90s were like a decade ago.
I know, stop it. I can't wait till the new episode of Buffy is on tomorrow. So they used to tour an awful lot, right? They toured all the time, and then they slowed down touring because it was a nightmare touring with the amount of equipment they had. They had like literal tons of synthesizers and stage equipment.
Yeah, because if you're messing around with a lot of synths, you go, oh, I need that synth just for that one bit.
Just for that bit. Exactly. Yeah. So they had this famous kind of recording studio, and they wouldn't tell. This is a great story that will lead into the continuation of the first story. So they had all this equipment, and it was a pound in the balls touring as they got kind of bigger, and they had to be in like a whole new city and set up by the next day for the next gig type of thing. So eventually they knocked it on the head, and they took all their equipment and they set up this studio just for recording. And apparently they hated being, this is mental, they hated being interrupted while they were recording. Okay, so they, being kind of electronic whiz kids, what they done was they said, right, if anybody wants to contact us, this is the number to ring. Okay, but don't just ring it whenever, because no one's going to answer it. If you want to ring us Thursday nights at 5:05. So 5:05 p.m. you ring us and we'll answer. So what they done was they took a telephone and they took it apart and like disconnected the ringer. So it didn't matter. You could be ringing all week, they wouldn't hear it. And one of the guys at 5:05 would go in and sit beside the phone, and exactly 5:05 you just pick it up and start talking. That's the way it worked. Once a week, you could get a hold of Kraftwerk to fill them in on what was going on or whatever, or offer them jobs or whatever it was. It was either that or post something to them. That was the only way. And they wouldn't tell anybody where the recording studio was. Not even the record label or anything new. That was a deepest, darkest secret. You weren't allowed to bother them at all. So, after years of messing around in the recording studio, and technology kind of caught up with them, like way later on, they decided to start touring again, and they had these custom built Sony Voyo laptops built that were like absolute monsters. So
they were great laptops.
They were super.
I'm not talking about those. The Sony Voyos were fantastic laptops.
Exactly.
I still have one. I still use it.
They're great. I had one for years as well. They were really well built for PC laptops. So they had a couple of these custom built, and basically all they done was they had kind of these weird controllers built, MIDI controllers built, that had like knobs and pads and faders and touch pads and stuff like that, so they could control everything just from the laptops. And then they were able to swap out like their giant, they used to have these giant like projectors and drop down screens and stuff like that, because they had like an audio visual element, much like a Massive Attack or something like that. They were able to swap those out with like a couple of these giant LCD screens that, like, everything essentially, the entire tour would fit in the back of a van. So that meant they were able to start touring again. That made like a massive difference to them going on the road. So that's like up till a couple of years ago, you would have been able to see Kraftwerk pretty much any summer, anywhere in Europe at some festival.
Yeah, like if you have a good computer, you can have thousands of keyboards on that, because you're only using the one or two, possibly three. If they could be using 2 or 3 MIDI controllers
at a time. Exactly, and that was the whole idea. They could just set themselves up on the podium, plug in their machines. They had their little small controllers that would fit in a backpack in front of them, and off they went. They could control everything, and then they'd start making more use of stuff like backing tracks, but like actively modifying backing tracks as they went. So it wasn't just like a kind of a live DJ set type of thing. They were actively making music, but using backing tracks as samples almost, and messing with them on the fly. So that made a big difference to them. But yeah, they done songs in English, they done songs in German. I think there's a couple of songs were somewhere in English and German at the same time. But this song I picked, Die Roboter, is obviously the German version of the robot. I'm going to play a little bit of it right now. So it's Kraftwerk with Die Roboter.
How does their stuff sound that quality?
I know, it's mental, isn't it?
It can be remastered, but remastering can only do so much.
Oh yeah, if the source material isn't great, then
that sounds so clear.
It's so crispy. Right. I know, it's outrageous. Anyway, that was my second last one. Who is your second last one?
My second last one is Deus, who are a Belgian rock band who usually sing in English. And in fact, I think they've only once ever sang in French, and it's this song, Quatre Mans.
I've got one of them coming as well.
Yeah, good. In 1999, they released one of my favourite albums of all time, The Ideal Crash, and Quatre Mans is the lead single from their 2012 album, Following the Sea, which is their 7th album. Quatre Mans means 4 hands, I think. I'm almost sure. Like I said, it's the first time that, and as far as I know, only time the singer Tom Barman decided to sing in French. It doesn't even sound like him in the song, and this song doesn't even sound like Deus. It's mad. It's not an example of how they sound, but this is genuinely one of the coolest songs I've ever heard. It sounds like a bank heist in Paris.
Deadly.
So just give it a quick bash there. This sounds like a bank heist in Paris.
C'est l'équivalent de rien. Conséquences inédites se mêlent avec des clichés. Il y a une distance à rêver entre entre la peau et l'éternité. Amène-moi tatoué. Qu'est-ce que tu penses? Étrange vie, coincée entre la guerre et la paix. Des idées reçues qui se mis en stéréo. Et la cascade qui coule en horizontale derrière ton dos fatal. La discrétion natale comme un fait bancal. Et le cœur qui bat comme un quatre mains. On joue le refrain, y a pas d'embarras. Tu m'en voudras pas. C'est quoi là-bas? C'est le quatre mains qui se joue en vain entre toi et moi. C'est le cœur qui bat. C'est comme le jazz, bien répété, plein d'impulses et libéré de codes. Je te regarde. Tu attends. Le rythme des réflexes.
It does sound like a bank heist.
In Paris, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Even though they are Belgian, and I think possibly usually speak Flemish. I don't, like I said, I don't know the ins and outs of. I know they're different.
Belgium has a couple of different things going on. It's weird.
I want to say vernaculars. Is that the right term to use? I don't know. I'm not very well educated. That's my problem.
Neither am I. I wish I was, but I didn't pay attention in school. All the stuff I should have learned in school, I want to learn now. Maybe they should send us to school at 40.
And my brain is the size of like an eraser when it was a sponge.
Pretty much.
So now I can only take up like 2 or 3 new facts a day.
Honest to God, now that like Ninja Turtles cartoon isn't on telly anymore, or He-Man and stuff like that, like all that's just atrophied. It hasn't even been recycled.
I'd love to just go back to history class even for like one. Like, wow, history. I used to be like, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't
matter. This is stupid. I'll never use it. See, like languages, like they tried to teach us languages, like, and we were like stupid, and now we're like living in fucking the EU and all. And it'd be great.
I picked up languages so fast when I was doing them.
I have full mutant brain.
And I just, whatever happened, I went to the Gaeltacht for like 3 or 4 weeks and came back speaking almost fluent Irish. Genuinely. Like my teacher.
Did you go to the Gaeltacht, did you? I only met like 3 people in the whole world that ever went to Gaeltacht, so you get added to that list.
There you go, yeah, I did. Don't know why my mate was like, let's go, it's deadly. It wasn't that deadly.
I bet you it wasn't. I bet you like camping, and you couldn't even fucking like look for your L in your real language.
Like, it was. I remember one time they were like, at the end when we were about to go home, they were like, right, so we're going to have a big dance in the hall.
Oh no.
Like a disco, whatever like that. And then halfway through it, no, not one of those. Jeez, like, it's the Irish language. You don't do all that. We weren't like, in the back peeling spuds and all that going, this is like crusty, Camp Krusty. But I remember like hearing like they were all speaking in Irish, so I didn't like pick up the intricacies of what they were talking about. But everyone that was running the thing was mad worried. And apparently, this was in Galway. Apparently, like people from the local town were coming down to batter all the Jackians at the ground. Like they were going to break in and kick the crap. But I was looking going, hang on a second. There's fucking loads
we're children.
Of us.
Yeah, and we're children.
Not just that, but even though, well, we were children. I'd say I was about 14.
Oh, we were able to throw a dig then.
Definitely.
Yeah,
to take a few.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
now. Not now. Take one and die now. Do you remember about 10 years ago, everybody started dying from getting digs on the street? Do you remember that? Start reading about that in the newspaper when you were a kid.
Falling wrong as well.
But when I was a kid, right, you'd be walking down the road and a bunch of dirtbags, right, with weird haircuts, like them fringes, they'd jump out from behind the car and they'd literally nearly kill you. And then 2 days later, you'd be grand, right?
You'd take at least 5 digs to
no problem, right? Yeah. And now, every day in the newspaper, they had footage of some poor bastard on the road a couple of weeks ago, and he took one crap dig and fell wrong and died. I don't know what they're feeding us.
Falling wrong.
I don't know, but what are they feeding us that we're just falling down and dying? Like, first of all, I don't want to get hit. Right? And I don't want to hit anybody. But back in the day, when I was a young fella, I got the shit kicked out of me by 50 lads once. 50 lads. They lined up. I don't know how I'm alive. Right? 50 lads in Fairview Park. I got in a fight with this board who stole me bike. And I got my bike back off her, and she said she was going to get her brother to batter me for stealing my bike back off her. And I didn't believe her. And I went to the park with my mates.
Stealing back is a great term.
Yeah. I stole it back, right, my own bike, off this board. And she was like, my brother's going to come down here with his mates and batter you tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, right, he is, yeah. And me and a lot of my mates went down to the park thinking, if this fella shows up, we'll batter him. And there was about 10 of us. And I swear to God, there used to be this park, right? If anybody ever lived in like Glasnevin or Drumcondra and like that will remember the way, it's not Fairview Park, what was it called? Tolka Park. What Tolka Park was like, you used to have this playground that was like surrounded by concrete, right? You had this weird like semicircle of concrete, and it was cut into a hill. So all the swings and all were kind of on the flat, but if you looked up, it was just this concrete kind of like almost like ball alley, and above it was grass. And me and my mates are hanging out, and we looked up, and no word of a lie, it was like the Warriors. There was just 50 of these scrouts standing around, right, on top of it, and they came running down at us, and all my mates ran. They ran through water and everything. They abandoned their bikes, ran across the river, and left me standing there. I was standing like over the crossbars. I couldn't get away in time, and your man came down and hit me open-handed clatter and told me that him and all his mates were going to batter me. So I just started crying, right? I don't know, I was about 14 or 15. I just started crying, and no word of a lie, he organised about 50 of his pals into a line, like they were lining up for free sweets, and they lined up, and one at a time they come over, and each single one of them hit me a dig, right? Popped me in the fucking mouth, right? And my parents were away, and I was staying in Cabra at the time, which is about, 4 miles away. So when they were done with me, I had to cycle to Cabra bawling with like one eye barely open, burst lip, fucking nose wrapped around me fucking face, blood pumping out of me. Got home, and there was a whole big thing. The cops and all were called, and I think a lot of the young fellas were arrested. Like it was full on, like loads of them queued up in the line and kicked the shit out of me, right? And Jesus. I was alright. And now people are getting like spat on and dying. So there's something, the government, it's chemtrails or something like that. It's turning our bones into glass or something. And if it's like that now, I don't want to take a dig now either in case I die. So, I'd be running through town. But I don't want
to be the newspaper dig guy.
Yeah, I was one of them every 2 weeks now. You know, there was an assault, and then someone like leaks it out because they were put on TikTok, and it literally got pushed down and impaled their head in a spike or something. Like, it's horrific. But there was just rows every second day when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like I got DDT'd in school, like a real one, and I nearly died.
Maybe we're just getting more information, or not. We don't have our parents just to block us from hearing stories about people.
Quite possibly, maybe there was people dying left, right, and centre back then as well.
They were just keeping it from us. But
I like that Daya song.
It's deadly. Yeah, it's great. Who's your next one? Who's your last one?
My last one, is same thing. It's Madball. Singing their one.
They're American.
They are American, and back in the day, they only sang in American. They only sang in English. But the last couple of years, they have been working more and more kind of Spanish songs in. Because the singer of Madball's guy called Freddie Croykin, and he is interesting. He is the half brother of the singer from Agnostic Front, and so how do I even explain this? Okay, so the singer from Agnostic Front is Cuban, and Freddie is his half brother. So I think his mother is Cuban and his father is Colombian. So he grew up speaking Spanish at home, I would assume, right. And that would have been his first language in his house. But out in the streets, in school and all that, would have been English. And a couple of the other guys in the band are of Spanish descent as well. They're of Latin descent as well. So in the last couple of years, they started doing a couple of songs in Spanish for the crack. But this is their first ever version of doing... They kind of covered themselves. They took one of the most popular songs, which is called Pride, and they done a version of it in Spanish. And apparently that works out to be called Para mi gente, something like that. Again, I'm pronouncing that wrong. Para mi gente. And so this is Madball singing a Spanish version of their own song Pride.
Los tiempos cambian de malo a peor. Siempre luchando para algo mejor, criado en estos malos tiempos. Tenga fe y salimos de esto. Pensando en cuando yo era joven, tiempos han cambiado, yo sé. He hecho un hombre y no quiero pedir nada más que todo por mí. La vida es dura,
That's Madball with Paramagente. Madball are an interesting band. They weren't really supposed to be a band. When the lead singer Freddie was about 12 years of age, he was hanging around with his older brother, who would have been playing like CBGBs and stuff like that pretty much every week. So he was hanging out in that kind of punk and hardcore and metal scene all the time. So they were having trouble getting support bands and stuff like that. They weren't getting along with a lot of the support bands, so they decided to make their own band using Freddie, the 12-year-old kid, as a singer. So it was basically Agnostic Front without the singer, but with the singer's little brother, who was 12 at the time. And they just had a load of Agnostic Front songs that never made it on record, or they didn't think were good enough, or whatever. And they just started putting those out. So like Freddie, the singer, put his first 7-inch out, his first hardcore 7-inch out at the age of 12. Jesus. And they're still going to this day. Like, they evolved. Like, after they ended up putting out an album where they kind of got a little bit more serious, where they were still using the Agnostic Front guys, mostly to kind of write songs, but then they start bringing in kind of find a new guitarist to kind of become the Madball guitarist, as opposed to the Agnostic Front guitarist playing for Madball. And they just evolved from this weird little kind of opening act that was fun to see a little 12-year-old kid jumping around screaming and shouting on the stage, into a real band that are still going.
It's almost like the hardcore version of Funkadelic Parliament.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
Just kind of was born out of the side of
exactly. It just happened. It's mental. Now, they took a break, I think around like 1999 or something like that, and they brought out, they done a little return EP called the NYHC EP, which is what this is off. It's only 4 tracks. Now, unfortunately, if people are Madball fans, they're not going to like what I have to say. Madball are not a very good band. They're not very good. But this little EP, this 4-track EP, is stellar. Like, every song on it is a fucking killer. They have stuff before this that was great, but when they came back again, every album they brought out pretty much sound the same. It was see the type of shit you'd be slagging hardcore for, you have betrayed me, and like that's exactly what Madball were like.
Every time I come around here again.
Yeah, 100%. That's the Madball meathead fucking like absolute gobshite hardcore that is wildly popular in Europe.
What's that Unreal song they have?
Who, Madball?
Yeah.
They have a song called Tightrope, which is off this EP. That's outrageous.
Oh, like they have fucking some big banger, and I can't remember the name.
Set It Off.
Yeah.
That's outrageous. That's off the first album. Yeah, that's off the first album. That's pre-gobshitery. He was probably, Jesus, when that came out, he might have been 16, 17, 18, something like that.
Jeez. That's the song that started Hatebreed.
Yes, pretty much. Like, they were very much more kind of metal style than anything else, but then the rest of hardcore caught up to what they were doing, and everything sounded like them from that point on. But like I said, after this kind of return reunion EP came out, every album that came out after it was just, it was embarrassing. Let me put it that way. It was just like every song was that you have betrayed me. The streets recognise the streets, and like you owe me money, or show some respect, or some bullshit like that. And it was it's just too much. Like, I had to dip out. I had to dip out around 2005, 2006, and I went to see them loads of times, and they were fun live and all that kind of stuff. But just looking at the absolute like detritus of humanity that showed up to their fucking gigs, like detritus, actually, that's the word.
That like that, I think, yeah, it's like
that showed up.
We're doing foreign language.
Yeah, whatever. My brain. Yeah, I've had a headache for 2 weeks, lads. I'll be alright. So yeah. Anyway, that's Madball. That's my last one. That was their first attempt at singing in Spanish. They've done a bunch of them, I think, since then. But I'll never know. So I'm out with a Madball game, and mostly because their drummer picked a fight with me in New York a couple of years ago. I told that story before. He was the drummer in Bad Brains and Cro-Mags as well. He picked a row with me because I was getting a Cro-Mags tattoo on my leg, and I was wearing a Bad Brains t-shirt, and he wanted money off me for wearing his band's merchandise. He was an absolute knobhead.
What?
Also the drummer in the Fun Loving Criminals, of all people.
He's the same drummer?
Same drummer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a bit of a knobhead. Amazing drummer.
Give me money for that t-shirt. I already paid for it.
Yeah, and he was like, that's a bootleg. And I was like, it's a bootleg because this band don't exist. And he was Bad Brains had broken up, I was like, they don't exist anymore, man. Like, and I bought it in the shop around the corner. Like, I'm pretty sure he works in that shop. I bought it in Generation Records around the corner. And he was like, I don't care, man. You owe me a few quid. Like, that's my band. And you're getting my band's logo tattooed. And you're like, what the fuck? And I'm like, you're in the tattoo studio. The tattoo studio was actually owned by the guitarist from Agnostic Front, strangely enough. And
He used one of my guitars before. The lead,
There you go.
does the lead singer play guitar?
no, it would have been Vinny Stigma is the guitarist.
Yeah, he used one of my guitars.
Yeah,
before,
he
for some
owns
gig in-
in the Scene or Rula Bula, or that was it.
I think they played Voodoo.
It could have
No,
been
I
Voodoo, yeah.
think it might have been Eamon Dorrance.
Might have been Dorrance. Might have been.
I think it was Eamon
Early on.
Dorrance.
That's when they were passing off Eamon Dorrance as like a proper world class venue for about 2 years. They done that with loads of bands.
I just remember I bought a guitar off him, mate, and he was like, need that back just for one gig because I'm putting on this gig and they don't have a guitar, something the Ferry or something, the same bullshit.
So yeah, I put them on. I put them on a couple of years ago, and they had they brought over this kind of tour manager, German dude. He was just this tank of a human. He was a scumbag. He kept trying to like push more and more money out of us for fees and stuff like that. The band themselves are grand, but whoever this road manager was an absolute dirtbag, like an absolute dirtbag. I had 100 hours from that night. Anyway, that's my last one. That's Madball. Who was your last one?
It surprised nobody at Sigur Rós because I mentioned it earlier, but I think this is an interesting one because although they are Icelandic, they don't sing in Icelandic. They sing in an invented language called Von Leske or Hoplandic.
Weird.
But Von Leske is how to say it in Iceland. And he writes that to the sound of the music to make it fit in. So basically, like loads of people do that anyway, but then they turn it into words. Like I do that. I write the song like as a load of garbage. I hope like I fill in bits. Then I'll go right. I have to figure out something that will fit like syllabically. Is that the word? The syllables will have to fit into all that, and it will have to roll off.
Phonetically.
Not so much phonetically, no. But I think the way he does it is brilliant. He's constantly singing the exact sound with his mouth that he wants to fit in. So none of it is ever jarring. That's why they sound so chilled out. Like none of it is ever like, oh, that didn't fit in there at all.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the end of the bar of the St. Elmo's Fire fucking song. Yeah. We used to do a podcast actually on songs that were wedged into films, and then they had to wedge the name of the film into the. We were only talking about that.
Yeah.
They wedged the name of the movie into the song, and it didn't fit. St. Elmo's Fire at the end of it was St. Elmo's Fire.
Unchained Melody. Yeah, Unchained Melody was the one. We were
that's
talking
the one.
about.
Yeah, and he went, "No, I can't fit it in. It sounds stupid, like Unchained Melody." You know what I mean? It just sounds wrong, and it comes out of nowhere. So anyway, he's doing the opposite of all that. He's fitting in whatever sounds with his mouth.
Interesting.
There's syllables, and it does sound like a language, but it's not. Sigur Rós are obviously from Iceland. They are an ambient dream rock sort of fucking post rock band. I don't know. It's very hard to describe them. I don't really. One of those bands that labels left a long time ago. So Von Lenske is different from natural and constructed languages for human communication. It consists of strings of meaningless syllables containing non-lexical vocables and phenomes. So there you go. I can't even say this, and this is in English.
Yeah.
There's no grammatical relation or between the syllables. They're not accompanied by any defined word boundaries. You know, it's a really bad way to write that. I wish I'd written that myself instead of just swiping that because I was late with this last bit. This is from their second album, Agitis Bírun, I think from 1998. That album is absolutely incredible.
I don't know jack shit about this band.
And this song is called Svein Genglar. And if you want to give it a little blast there, this is what they sound like.
Okay. mad. That's like something that should be playing during a movie when someone's doing a long drive.
Yeah, they've scored movies before. They've in Game of Thrones. They've done loads of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They recorded in a swimming pool that had been turned into a studio for like the acoustics and stuff like that. They have 7 albums, but none in the last 8 or so years. So I don't know what's going on there, but maybe they'll come back with an absolute banger. But they're an absolutely fantastic band. I love the fact that I'd love to, because I hate writing lyrics. I'd love to not have to do it. I'd love to have to not even fit stuff in with the way I want, because it can be a pain in the arse. I'm not really great at it. So it takes me ages to write something that just can get away with no one like looking at it for too long, you know, that way.
Yeah, as long as it's not like fly high in the sky type of fucking shit, you're generally grand, but
the way
it's
I
hard
write
to avoid it.
The way I try and write lyrics is the way it takes so long. Try and make it slightly interesting, but don't go into cheesy and cringy.
Yes.
And that's really fucking hard to do.
Real hard. Because you've been listening to so much music for your whole life. Your brain wants to replicate stuff it's heard. It's real hard not to do that.
I didn't forget that you can get away with murder. Like, the Cure's lyrics aren't great if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you really, really... Like, some of the Cure's lyrics are insanely good, but mostly, and even some of my favourite songs...
It's whatever. Yeah.
It's just there. They're just lyrics. So, but also, so this really... I love the way he does this, because he could be saying anything he wanted, and it sounds phonetically perfect to the music, and it doesn't get in the way. It hasn't got jagged edges. It's just nice and smooth. And... it doesn't matter if it doesn't make any sense.
You make their own language. Make up Helmetish and just do albums in Helmetish. Just do that.
Yeah, they've.
And if anybody says that, and just like, what are you doing? You bigger. Be like that.
It's my language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop being racist towards fucking...
That was our that was our foreign language songs. 10 songs that we love in other languages.
Yes, indeed. We are back next Monday with a fresh one. We're back. When is this out?
This out Monday.
Monday.
I got no. You're listening to this on Monday.
On
so
Monday.
Therefore,
so there won't be a me and you show this Saturday, but there might be a me show depending on which way it goes. But we're back on Monday with a fresh podcast. If you like what we do, go to lostartpodcast.com. Has all the links on it. If you really like what we do, go to patreon.com/lostartpodcast. That's a subscription-based service. €5 a month. It used to be $5 a month. Now it's €5 a month. Makes more sense. And we always put our content up there. Our live Saturday night shows, if you can't listen to them live, you can get the recorded version on Patreon. I put a video up there a couple of days ago about all the records that I picked up during lockdown. Well, not all of them, most of them. And there's loads of exclusive podcasts and videos and loads of stuff, me and you in the pub getting drunk. There's loads of that early on. You get access to 2 years worth of exclusive Patreon shit for $5 a month, and you don't have to stay there. You can literally jump on for a month or two, watch it all, and feck off if you really want.
We hope you forget that, obviously.
Yeah, we hope you absolutely forget. But if you don't forget, that's fine. Just jump on and get the stuff and leg it again, and then do like an OnlyFans job in it. You know, give them 6 months to get a load of new clobber together, and then you jump back on for the whatever tenner. And you get all the months worth, because you're just going to scroll through it anyway and just whatever watch it.
You're not locked out of old months.
No, you've got the full year.
I thought it would be like PlayStation Plus, where like, oh no, you weren't around for October. Oh, you missed October.
No, with Patreon, I think the app is weird. If you use the app, I think it only lets you go back like 6 months before you have to log into the website to get access to the stuff. Something weird like that. Their app, to be honest with you, it's all right. It kind of works, but it's like a lot of these apps are just front ends for the website. They're not kind of self-contained, so they get a bit gammy sometimes.
Right.
But the app does work. I use it the odd time just for checking on stuff, you know. But to be honest with you, 99% of the time,
checking on stuff.
Yeah, just make see if there's any comments, because sometimes the you don't get notifications and shit like that. So it's easier.
Patreon, this whole
I'm not
time
talking about
this whole
OnlyFans.
time I was like, what the fuck is he talking about this on the radio? I was like, after this I'm going to be like, Gary, you need to cut that out.
No,
not cut out doing it. Not cut out doing it. Do what you want. Cut the bit out. Like,
oh, no. No, I'm talking about Patreon. I wouldn't know anything about OnlyFans. I wouldn't know anything about...
Who's there asking you on radio or on the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, look, you old one.
And who do you be looking at, guy? No, I don't know Patreon. I don't know. Do the other ones even have an app? I don't think so. I think it's just a website.
This is like, Jesus, he's being very forthright today.
Very blunt.
It's, like, it's this new oil that he's taking.
It's exactly. Oil that he's taking. My new snake oil that I want, yeah. Well, I got 6 wanks out of that one, and then no, I'm talking about Patreon. But yeah, once you sign up to Patreon, you have access to everything we've ever posted up there. But like I said, on the app, I think you can only see like 6 months worth of stuff on the app. I could be wrong, and before you have to log into the website to get all the stuff. So do that. The links for supporting us and all that malarkey are in the podcast that you just clicked on. They're there in the text. They're there for you. That's it for this week. We will be back next week. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time you listen to it. Thank you very much. Good night.
Night.